Welcome back. Now, Charles Tarbey says he's away for work, but I think he's off on holiday, so Tom Panos is going to join us now to share the latest numbers from 2021.
He's not at the Pink concert, is he?
Yeah, Tom, we've got a lot of the crew here saying, how do you know what it's like to queue up at a Pink contest?
Oh, well, you don't have to be Einstein to work that out, tell him.
So, you're looking after Charles' segment for the next couple of weeks while he's busy away working somewhere, apparently. What are some of the numbers saying on clearance rates? It's got to be positive news out there, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's about 20 percentage points more than the same time last year. That seems to be a consistent week in, week out figure. It deviates a little bit, 1 or 2 percentage points, slightly up on last week, 73% versus 72%. Adelaide's still a star, but Sydney continues to be the star performer.
Now, obviously, we're talking all the time that sub $1 million in the blue chips has always been pretty good markets. Are the clearance rates getting better at the top end? I mean, I know in Sydney they're talking about, you bought on that great property in Darling Point recently, and then we've got what is about $100 million for Fairfax in Point Piper as well.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I was talking to someone at my local cafe this morning, and he told me that he's picked up a buy on his property at around 3.3, and that level in the inner west hasn't been a regular occurrence in recent times. So we're not seeing the 75s, the 85s or the 90% that we're seeing in those hot suburbs, but we are seeing an increase, because what happens, Chris, is that the people that sell a house at $1 million go and buy a $2 million house, and the people that are selling a house for $2 million might go buy a 2.7 or 2.8 house. So you see a domino effect because the seller becomes a buyer in the next price bracket up.
Okay. Now, I mean, the big thing that's kind of fueling the market at the moment is obviously homes advertised for sale. Have we got any change there at all?
Yeah. Even though it went up a little bit for 1 week, it is now back down again, which is not a good thing. It's the demand and supply that's fueling it, and we're also seeing people in the media, economists are actually saying that that's where they're pointing the finger at the issue on prices, demand and supply, and it's 15% less than this time last year. I'm convinced, Chris, that we get the long weekend out of the way, we're going to see large levels of stock coming on the market, and we're going to see selling season go right through to basically 3 days before Christmas.
Tom, do you have any view that should be moderated in terms of number of properties coming on? Because right now, I think we've got good demand and supply has kept, I think, the prices where they are. Obviously, we need more stock on the market, but we want to obviously have that in a controlled basis as well.
Yeah, I think, Arthur, it's a good point. My view is that certain areas, there is such an undersupply of stock that even though when the stock levels come in, I don't think you're going to find that there's going to be too many properties and not enough buyers. That may happen in areas where the demand is not, where you're not getting 30 or 20 people registering at an auction. So for instance, the one in Darlington, which I think had 30 registrations, if there were more properties on the market in October, November, maybe you'll have 15 registrations or 10 registrations, but you're still going to be getting great results. So I just think that at the moment it is an exceptional time to be a seller, but I still think it'll be a good time to be a seller October, November, December.
Yep. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, what's happening with rent prices at the moment?
Okay, not much. I think it's pretty stable there. We're only seeing a mild increase, and it's been hovering around the mid... well, I'm just having a look here. Perth appears to have hit a ceiling. So, look, there's not much of a difference in terms of the rentals.
Okay, and then just finally on the vacancy rates as well.
Has been over 3% for a few weeks, and with the two capital cities recording 4% for the last week, and now Perth has hit the lead, and that is not a surprise for us.
Yeah, and look, I always find, because we're buying a lot of properties around the beaches, then suddenly kind of winter and spring it's reasonably quiet, but as soon as you start hitting this kind of summer months and people start wanting to move, and the rental prices go up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's a lot of factors. Don't forget, anywhere around universities, where you've got people that move into there for the period of while they're studying, and then they move out and they come back and get new accommodation. So there's a lot of factors. But one of the great things, Chris, and you know it, is that we have purely got a clear undersupply for tenants generally. And if you're in property in a decent location, you're not waiting months for a tenant. You're generally waiting weeks or days.
Great. Thanks for the info, Tom. Good to see you. We'll see you next week.
See you
Thanks
later.
for joining us this evening at home, and we'll see you again next week as well. Good night.